I know, chasing that dough, hitting that road, getting that money, man. All I know, loading that foe, kicking down doors, getting that money, man. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is legendary Larry Holmes says that Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and Deontay Wilder don't have skills. Take a listen.
What do you make of the skills that Fury has, Anthony Joshua has, Deontay Wilder has?
They don't have no skills.
Really, you don't think so?
No, they can't. Listen,
Yeah.
You got to punch here. No guys punch. They throw punches like this for a jab. You don't throw punches. They straight, bang, bang, with the jab. You got to have that out there like that. And you guess what? You can't hit me with that right hand because this hand protect me. They don't know how to throw 1-2, bang, bang, and get out and move out. Protect yourself. But you know what? They have it. I had my day, and I had a great time doing what I was doing.
Because a lot of people would say that.
All right. So you heard Larry Holmes. He said that they don't got no skills. They don't even throw the jab right. They throw it from down here. They don't use their shoulder. So what's your reaction to Larry Holmes saying that the heavyweights today, particularly Fury, Joshua, and Wilder, don't have any skill? I'm turning over to you, Dollar Bill. What's your reaction to that?
We're talking about the great Larry Holmes here. Compared to Larry Holmes, we're talking about the student in the game, Larry Holmes, who was, Muhammad Ali's sparring partner, Larry Holmes. We talk about one of the best jabs ever, one of the best technical heavyweights ever, We're talking about Larry Holmes. I know the jokes go on about Larry Holmes is a bad mother. We got a show coming out called Give Them Their Flowers, man. And when y'all hear about Larry Holmes, man, y'all going to have to put some respect on Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes was a bad man. So when I hear Larry Holmes, of course, if he's comparing it to him, Larry Holmes is pointing it to his standards, comparing himself to himself and Ali, and it's totally different. It's different. But Fury, Joshua, and Wilder, these guys are good heavyweights, and Joshua got skills. Fury, he has great skill. Wilder got power. It's like, the arguments that you have with the kids nowadays, when you say, hey, well, Magic was a bad mother, you know what I'm saying? They be like, hey, man, Braun out here doing it like this, that, and the third. And you like, hey, but the behind the back pass, that came from Magic. You know what I'm saying? But times has changed, things have changed. But if Larry, man, I'm not mad at Larry. Larry's saying that because Larry, times is different. He's come about from his era where you had to do every last one. You had to be good at everything. You had to have power. You had to have a great jab. You had to have everything. You had to be the total package. Now some of these guys are not the total package. Either they got speed, or they don't have no power, or they got power and they don't have nothing else, or they have a great jab, and you know what I'm saying, or they got size, or you know what I mean. Back then, they must feel like they had to be the total package. So I'm not mad at Larry Holmes for saying that, because compared to him, who's messing with Larry?
All right, Conspiracy G.
Yeah, I see what the old head is saying. You know what I mean? But
watch your mouth, G.
that's all. With all due respect, because perfect example, right? I'll name two fighters, right, that I feel technically at times when they throw the jab, it seems flawed, but it's always it works. One is Lomachenko, and the other one is Manny Pacquiao. They don't throw the jab the traditional way up here, straight, bring it right back. They don't really do that, right? But nonetheless, when you see them throw them punches and them combinations, they land, right? So to me, it's like he's critiquing these three gentlemen, and he used the jab as the example, right? Now, with Wlider, he does have his hands pretty low when he's throwing, right? And I'm like, oh, why is he doing that? But then I go, these are some heavyweights. These guys, I don't think, like, they're not like the past where, like, these dudes could keep their hands up a whole fight. These guys don't do that. They're trying to reserve as much energy as they can. They throw fast shots, you know? So it's like, when I see that, I go, it's just a different style of fighting, right? So it's like, do you say they don't have skills because they choose to keep their hands low? I won't necessarily say that, right? So that's why I'm like, go ahead, Trill.
No, I'm with you, but it is skill because you got to understand these guys used to have to keep their hands up for longer rounds.
No, I agree. No, I'm not saying, I never said that Larry Holmes, you know, and them fellas didn't have skill. What I'm saying is just because these new guys aren't doing the same thing doesn't mean they don't have skill, you know? Like, and Joshua, to me, has a decent jab. You know, Fury sometimes he throws arm punches, but again, it's effective, you know? So I'm like, just because they're not throwing it the textbook traditional way that you're used to doesn't mean they don't have skill, you know? And so, and again, I'm only talking about his example of the jab. Now, if you were talking about other things, I go, hey, you know what? I'll give you that, right? Because you know me, I've always said Wilder's not perfect. He has a lot of flaws, you know? But again, if you could win, you can win. Whether it's by inch or a mile, a win is a win. So you have to have some form of skill to execute, you know, the type of fights that they've done. You know, like, I don't know. I feel like all three gentlemen have skills. You know, now, can they improve? Of course. You know, every fighter can improve. But I don't feel like because the person's not throwing a jab, you want them to throw. Therefore, they don't have skill. That's all I'm saying. And to be honest, and the reason why I called him an old head, it was like, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but when he threw that jab, I was like, damn, bro. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't look good, man. It looked like an old arthritis, bro. I'm sorry, yo. So I was like,
yo, watch your mouth, G.
Watch your mouth.
Watch your mouth, G.
we all get
Great Larry Holmes.
Larry's gonna be waiting for you outside the grocery store, G. Yo, he gonna be waiting for you, man. He gonna be
G gonna walk out Whole Foods.
Hey, man, listen, it's no disrespect. It's all love. I'm just saying.
What you say, sucker?
Oh, yeah.
Larry gonna do him like Morgan Freeman when he was the janitor in $1 Million Baby. One glove on his hand. Just one glove.
There you go.
And you can't hit him back, G.
Right.
Larry go run up on G like, break yourself, fool.
I'm stupid.
Oh,
I never love for my man. So I'm just saying.
Yo, G, the way you show love is different, yo. You show love, it's different, man.
But I like
my hate is love. You know what I'm saying? So, hey.
All right, TV.
Man, nah, I agree with Larry. I feel like these three guys all
Hold on. Time out. You saying AJ don't have skills?
Nah, let me clarify what I'm trying to say. I feel all these three guys, these three fighters, like the heavyweight has not been the heavyweight division of all. So these three guys feel like they capitalized off of like heavyweights who are just big. Like let me just make this clear. Fury, Josh, and Wlider, they're the heavyweights of today. They're like, but the division is very slim. And when you see guys like Usyk come up and they're able to box and move and they're able to have the IQ, the skills, the everything, I feel Fury feels like has a mindset where these guys are big and slow. I just gotta outlast them for 12 rounds. I'll punch them, I'll last them for 12 rounds. Wilder feels I have to like just hit them with the right hand. Through their resume, all I have is the right hand, my power. I don't need anything else to capitalize off of this division. And Joshua was like, he was training, but he wasn't training to the point where you could see a smaller, fitter guy with the actual skills could outbox you, like, you know. And let's not, Joshua has been in the sport for what? He's been boxing for more than like what 10, 12 years. He started in like his 18, when he was 18, he started very young. He came into the sport very late, but he's accomplished so much. But I feel like there's not that much like difference. There's not that much variety of fighters like where they're like, oh, these guys are big and slow. All I gotta do is just hit them in the face. All of these guys don't have a chance. So for Larry grew up with warriors. Larry was fighting killers back then, but there's not that many killers in the heavyweight division. In boxing, like Trill was saying, you have these guys like, yo, in different weight classes. Oh, if the guy had a chin, he'll be the best boxer ever. If this guy had this, or just could had endurance, he'll be the best boxer ever. But I just feel some of these guys, they're not full, like they're not well rounded. They have like Fury has the movement, he has the endurance, he doesn't really have the power. Joshua has the power, he has the physique, he has the thing, he doesn't have the mindset, he doesn't have the killer instinct. Wlider has the killer instinct.
Why did that have to pause?
Yo,
Why did that
pause,
have to
yo.
even come
That
in?
is
Yo?
pause. What's up, physique?
The endurance. Yo, whatever. Let me go. Wlider got the power in the heart, but he don't got the skill.
He got the power and the physique.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Why box like Usyk? So you know, and Usyk, I don't know what's his kryptonite just yet, but Usyk came in here and showed these guys you really got to know how to box in this game. Like y'all was sleeping on the heavyweight division, and he showed them like what really boxing really is. So.
Yeah, I feel you. They were just alluding to what I was saying, basically what I was talking about. You know, if Larry Holmes is comparing it to him, you know, Larry Holmes had it all. He had the movement, he had the power, he had the jab, he had, you know what I'm saying? So thinking about
complete. Did Larry have the
hey, sucking me into that one, G. But it comes from that time where you had to be the complete package. You know what I'm saying?
You know, this is a classic argument that you get all the time. Like, I see it all the time, like cross sports. So my era was better. You know, and I feel like Larry Holmes is now the get off my lawn old guy. You feel me? I do think he comes from an era where they had to be more technically sound, but they weren't as physically gifted. So I feel like, you know, you had to be more technically sound, but you weren't as explosive as, say, a Deontay Wilder, Larry Holmes. You're more technically sound than Wilder, but you weren't as explosive as Deontay Wilder. Whether that matters. Like, for example, Trill pointed out, like, Larry Holmes, who I believe is one of the great fighters of all time, but's bitter because he never really got his just due. Like, he beat Muhammad Ali in a fight where even he was crying afterwards. Like, he didn't really want to do it to Muhammad Ali. No one loved seeing Larry Holmes beat Muhammad Ali. And then he ended up losing his title to a man moving up from cruiserweight, Michael Spinks, right? Who Mike Tyson knocked out in 91 seconds. And, you know, even Tyson beat Larry Holmes. But here's the thing. Larry Holmes may have been more technically sound than Iron Mike. But Iron Mike was more explosive, faster, better athletically. So, you know, technical ability will only get you so far. In this new generation, you're talking about super heavyweights. You look at like Muhammad Ali, like 6'3", 6'4", 218 in his prime, and like, you know, at his peak. You're talking about Tyson Fury, 6'9", 270. Deontay Wilder, 6'7", you know, 230. You're talking about Anthony Joshua, 6'6", like 240 to 250, depending on how he wants to come in. And these guys are explosive. They're fast. It's a different type of ball game. So it's like, you know, you can be technically sound. And I think being technically sound will always have a place in the sport of boxing. You look at Alexander Usyk, for example, and how he was able to beat Anthony Joshua. That was great technical skills, but that's also Usyk being special. That's also just like unique, whatever. So I feel like whenever you're talking about sports and you go back to depending on a generation, They're always going to say that. Like, I hear people say Larry Holmes ain't good. You know, they'll talk to my dad. He'll tell me the real fighters fought 15 rounds, man. And there was never, and you know, they look down on the fighters who fight 12 rounds, right? The real fighters fought 15 rounds, right? You look at the people who look down on women's boxing like, oh, they only fight 2-minute 10 rounds. Well, that's what the old heads say about our fighters now. They don't fight the full fights. They don't fight the amount of fights, the amount of rounds, and they don't have to put in the same amount of time. Larry Holmes and Joe Frazier, I mean, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier came down to who just came off the stoop because they both were ready to quit in the Thriller of Manila. They both were ready to quit. So, like, you know, I feel like what ends up happening is people look at their era, they automatically think their era is the best. People praise Tom Brady, they call him the GOAT. People from Joe Montana's era still say that Joe Montana is the GOAT. And here's why. 4-0 in the Super Bowl. Never threw an interception. He played in an era where you could take the quarterback and body slam him if you wanted to. They weren't going to stop it. Now you can't even go too low on a quarterback. You could chop block. You can do everything that they ruled out of the game you could do when Joe Montana was quarterback. Still won 4 and never threw a pick in the Super Bowl, right? So if you look at Joe Montana, they're saying you bring Joe Montana in this era where you can't breathe on a quarterback, that dude would throw 6,000 yards a year and 50 touchdowns. There's always going to be that cross comparison. But at the end of the day, you know, I think, you know, what Trill said, I agree with, and I get what Ned was saying as well. If you're comparing their skills to Larry Holmes, no, they're not as technically sound. But just because they're not as technically sound, it doesn't mean that they're not skilled. Wilder knows how to set you up to put the right hand on your face. That's his gift. That's what he works on. That's what he does. Tyson Fury may have his hands low, but nobody can hit him. He's elusive on defense. He hits you more than you hit him, and he's figured out a way to win every single fight that he's ever been in, including beating Vladimir Klitschko. I would love to ask Larry Holmes if he thinks Vladimir Klitschko is a skilled heavyweight. Because if you think Vladimir Klitschko is a skilled heavyweight, look at what Fury did to him. Look at what Joshua did to him. So, you know, you may not see these guys as being technically skilled the way that, you know, we look at skill, but these guys are explosive. Their size, they have other things that, you know, give them the advantage in the fight. So even if you're better technically, you still might not win.
Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros.
You're welcome.